In this video, we will discuss about the model of brain. Here you can see this one is a model of brain. It consists of right and left cerebral hemispheres, and they are separated by this longitudinal cerebral fissure. This longitudinal cerebral fissure contains falx cerebri, and that is the fold of dura mater. Then after that, remember that these are the two cerebral hemispheres, and they are thrown into the sulci and gyri. Now remember here that these fissures are the sulci, while these folds are the gyri. And on supralateral surface, main sulcus is the central sulcus. Now this one is the central sulcus here on this side and on this side. And due to this central sulcus, anteriorly this whole area is known as frontal lobe, while posterior to central sulcus this part is the parietal lobe, and then more posteriorly this one is the occipital lobe. Then on lateral surface, here you can see this one is the lateral sulcus, and below the lateral sulcus this one is the temporal lobe. Now first of all we will discuss about the frontal lobe. Now this was the central sulcus. In front of central sulcus this one is the frontal lobe on both sides. Now this one is the precentral sulcus, and between the central sulcus and precentral sulcus this gyrus is the precentral gyrus. Then more anteriorly, here you can see two sulci. These are the superior frontal sulcus, and this one is the inferior frontal sulcus. And due to these there are three gyri. This one is the superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, and inferior frontal gyrus. Then after that, this was the central sulcus. Now behind the central sulcus this one is the parietal lobe on each side. Now in parietal lobe, here you can see this one is the post central sulcus, and between the central sulcus and post central sulcus this gyrus is the post central gyrus. Then in the parietal lobe, more clear on this side, this one is the infraparietal sulcus, and above the infraparietal sulcus this one is the superior parietal lobule, while below this one is the inferior parietal lobule. Then more posteriorly, here you can see this one is the occipital lobe. Now on lateral surface, here you can see this one is the lateral sulcus. Now lateral sulcus has a short stem, and there are three rami. Now this one is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, this one is the anterior horizontal, and this one is the anterior ascending ramus. And then below this lateral sulcus, this one is the temporal lobe. Now in temporal lobe there are two sulci and three gyri. This one is the superior temporal sulcus, inferior temporal sulcus, and due to these there are three gyri. This one is the superior temporal gyrus, middle temporal gyrus, and inferior temporal gyrus. Then after that we will discuss about the inferior surface. Now here you can see inferior surface of the frontal lobe. Now on inferior surface, here you can see this one is the olfactory bulb and this one is the olfactory tract, and they lie in the olfactory sulcus. This one is the olfactory sulcus. Now medial to the olfactory sulcus and bulb and tract, this area is known as gyrus rectus. And laterally, here you can see this one is the H-shaped orbital sulcus, and actually this hole is the orbital gyrus, and this H-shaped sulcus divide this area into different parts. This one is the medial part, anterior part, posterior part, and lateral part. Then after that, here you can see this one is the inferior surface of the temporal lobe. Now here you can see first of all this one is the collateral sulcus. Now anterior part of the collateral sulcus is the rhinal sulcus, and then anteriorly this hook shaped structure is the uncus. Then medial to the collateral sulcus, this posterior part is the lingual gyrus. Then this part is the parahippocampal gyrus, and more anteriorly there is uncus. Then lateral to the collateral sulcus, this one is the occipitotemporal sulcus, and due to this there are two gyrus. This one is the medial occipitotemporal gyrus, and this one is the lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. This is nothing. Then we will discuss about this area. Actually, this one is the brain stem, which consists of midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. And here you can see anterior surface of all these structures. First of all, we will discuss about the midbrain. Now, this one is the anterior surface of the midbrain, and actually this area is known as interpeduncular fossa. First of all, here you can see these are the optic nerves, and laterally here you can see this part. Now this part is known as anterior perforated substance. Then in interpeduncular fossa, here you can see this one is the optic chiasma. These are the optic tracts, tuber cinerarium with infundibulum. These rounded shape structures are the mammillary bodies. This one is a posterior perforated substance, oculomotor nerve, or the third cranial nerve that arises from the anterior surface of the midbrain. And then laterally, these are the crus cerebri. Then here you can see this one is the anterior surface of the pons, and these are the transverse fibers on anterior surface. This one is the basilar groove or basilar artery, and anterolaterally here you can see these are the rootlets of trigeminal nerve, and this one is the pontomedullary junction. Now from pontomedullary junction, three cranial nerves arises from medial to lateral. These are the abducent, facial, and vestibulocochlear nerve. Then after that, here you can see this one is the anterior surface of the medulla oblongata. This one is the anterior median fissure. Then these are the pyramids, and laterally these are the olives. Now between the pyramid and olive, this one is the hypoglossal nerve rootlets. Then more laterally here you can see origin of three cranial nerves. These are the 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerve. These are the 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerve. Then after that we will discuss about the medial surface of the cerebrum and the brainstem and diencephalon. Now here you can see on medial surface always remember that there is the largest commissure, and this one is the corpus callosum. Now there are four parts of corpus callosum. This one is the rostrum of corpus callosum, genu, body, and splenium of corpus callosum. Then above the corpus callosum, this sulcus is the callosal sulcus. Then above the callosal sulcus, this one is the cingulate gyrus. Then this one is the cingulate sulcus. Then anteriorly and above, this one is the medial frontal gyrus, and this one is the area of paracentral lobule. Actually, paracentral lobule is the extension of central sulcus, precentral gyrus, and postcentral gyrus on the medial surface. Then posteriorly, here you can see this one is the parieto-occipital sulcus, and this one is the calcarine sulcus. Now in front of parieto-occipital sulcus, this one is the precuneus, and between the parieto-occipital sulcus and calcarine sulcus, this area is known as cuneus, and this one is the area of lingual gyrus. Then below the corpus callosum, this one is the septum pellucidum. This one is the body of the fornix, anterior column of fornix, anterior commissure, and this one is the lamina terminalis. Now in front of lamina terminalis, this area is known as paraterminal gyrus, while below the this rostrum, this one is the rostrum, and below this area is known as subcallosal gyrus. Then this one is the optic chiasma. Here is the location of tuber cinerarium with infundibulum, mammillary bodies. Here is the interpeduncular fossa. Then this one is a tegmentum of midbrain, cerebral aqueduct, tectum of midbrain. This one is a posterior commissure, pineal body or gland. This one is a habenular commissure, and this one is the choroid plexus. And then here you can see this one is the area of diencephalon, and above this whole part is the thalamus, while below this part is the hypothalamus, and between the thalamus and hypothalamus, this sulcus is known as hypothalamic sulcus. And this one is the interthalamic adhesion or connection, and anteriorly close to the anterior column of fornix. Here is the opening of interventricular foramina. Then this was the cerebral aqueduct, and this one is the pons, medulla oblongata, and here is the cavity of the fourth ventricle. Now remember one thing here, that this parieto-occipital sulcus, some part of it also extends on the superolateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere. And then after that, when we will separate this cerebral hemisphere, here you can see inner part. Now on inner part is a location of different parts or different horns of the lateral ventricle. Here is the location of anterior horn, then there is the body, and here is the posterior horn, and here is the location of inferior horn. Now here you can see this one is the area of forceps major, and here is the location of optic radiations. Then on medial wall of the posterior horn, upper swelling is known as bulb of posterior horn, while lower swelling is known as calcar avis. Then after that, here you can see this one is the structures that form the floor of the inferior horn. First of all, more laterally, this one is the collateral eminence that is produced due to collateral sulcus. Then this coma shaped structure is the hippocampus, and this anterior expanded part is known as pes hippocampus. And then medially, this part is the fimbria, and this fimbria goes backwards. And first of all, it makes the posterior column, and then crus, and then body of the fornix. And this tooth-shaped structure is the dentate gyrus. And then more medially, this one is the parahippocampal gyrus. Then after that, we will discuss about the different parts. Now remember that this was the thalamus. Now always remember that the thalamus is not only present here, it is actually a egg-shaped mass, and this whole part is the thalamus. And when we close this part, this whole part is the thalamus, and these are the two fornix, body of the fornix, and these are the posterior expanded part of the thalamus, that is the pulvinar. And then here you can see these are the internal capsule, and here is the insula, and this whole is the caudate nucleus. Actually, caudate nucleus is C-shaped. This one is the head of caudate nucleus. This whole is the body, and this one is the tail of caudate nucleus. And lateral ventricle lies like this. And here is the location of anterior horn. Then there is the body. Then there is the posterior horn, and here is the location of inferior horn. Then we will see posterior surface of the brain stem. First of all, here you can see these are the pineal gland or pineal body, and these are the colliculi. These are the superior colliculus, inferior colliculus, and this one is the fourth cranial nerve or trochlear nerve. That is the only cranial nerve that arises from the posterior surface. Then below, here you can see this one is the posterior surface of the pons. Here you can see middle cerebellar peduncle, and this is the cavity of the fourth ventricle, and these are the superior cerebellar peduncles, these are the inferior cerebellar peduncles. And then this was the floor cavity of the fourth ventricle, and here is the floor of the fourth ventricle, and this one is the median sulcus. Then below, here you can see posterior surface of the medulla. This one is the posterior median fissure or sulcus, and these are the gracile tubercles, and these are the cunate tubercles. Then after that, when we will see from lateral side of the midbrain, here you can see this was the superior colliculus. Now always remember, superior colliculus is attached to lateral geniculate body. This one is the lateral geniculate body through superior brachium. This one is the superior brachium. Then this one is the inferior colliculus, and it is attached to medial geniculate body. This one is the medial geniculate body through this inferior brachium. So this one is the inferior colliculus, inferior brachium, medial geniculate body. This one is the superior colliculus, superior brachium, and lateral geniculate body. And this whole area is this one is the crus cerebri, and or cerebral, also known as the cerebral peduncles. And then here you can see this one is the optic tract, and that goes towards this lateral geniculate body. And then finally see the last part of the brain, that are the two cerebellar hemispheres, and this one is the central part, that is vermis, and here you can see this one is a primary fissure. Due to this primary fissure, this part is the anterior lobe, and behind this whole part is the posterior lobe. And again there is another fissure, this one is a horizontal fissure. And then on posterior surface, here you got the cerebellar tonsils, and here you can see this one is a juvulonodular fissure, and this one is a flocculonodular lobe, and these are the peduncles. And when we will separate these cerebellar hemispheres, here you can see this tree-like structure. This tree-like structure is the arbor vitae. So it was all about the model of the brain.